60s and potential for some rain coming through.
Right.
So, I mean, you're welcome to Charlotte, I guess.
The Woody and Wilcox Show. What up?
What's going on?
What's up, G?
We were talking a second ago about how Saturday Night Live did a pretend commercial about the Alaska Airlines flight where the door plug had flown off. Who saw the latest interesting turn of events for an airline recently? Anybody see this one where, I guess let's phrase it this way. You ever get on a plane and look out the window and then go, man, that looks weird over there on the wing, or does that thing supposed to be like that? Have you ever had that experience? I feel like I have, where you look at a piece of equipment or something on the plane and you go, that doesn't look like that's how that's supposed to be.
I just assume I don't know enough.
Of course, you go, well, they would notice that. I can see it out the window. So obviously it's not an issue. And you think, oh, what am I going to do? Call the flight attendant over and be like, that thing looks weird out on the wing. And they're going to be like, all right, Slappy. Well, that's what happened, was it over the weekend? Late last week, when a dude looked out the window of the flight and was like, are those bolts over there supposed to be like that on the wing? And they were like, nope. And the flight was grounded, canceled, so that they could double check everything. And by the way, the airline came back and was like, this wouldn't have had any impact on the safety of the aircraft, but
Those are unnecessary bolts.
out of an abundance of caution, those bolts were there really just to improve the aerodynamic performance of the aircraft. That's the exact quote. And I can't say that it's not true,
but then why ground
they
the flight?
did end up grounding it, and they say that was just so that they could obviously do further inspection. But this was a flight leaving England coming to New York, so
it's a minute for that flight.
lengthy. And, probably over the ocean isn't where you want to have your issues.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
those aren't real. Those are just show bolts.
it says that this particular, they're called fasteners in this case. I don't know if it's a bolt. This particular airplane has 119 of these fasteners, and 4 of them were missing. And so according to the airline, that, quote, did not impact the structural integrity or the load capability of the wing, and the aircraft was safe to operate.
But it was so visible to... This guy's not like an airline mechanic, right?
I mean, not that I know of.
No supervision that we know of.
To your guys' point earlier, he looked out and was like, 4 fasteners are missing. I'm going to ring my call button.
Pretty obvious. Well, good for him for saying something. Now they, that whole you see something, say something is going to apply to planes.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have thought it was something that I needed to raise my hand about. So if nothing else, we have all learned, I guess, that particular lesson. I want to make sure I get you time to get today off. Question for you. My guess is you've each watched a sporting event or two. When did they first start putting numbers on the players? Anybody? You would have thought that's always been a thing, right? You've got a jersey on, it's got a number on the back.
How else were you identified?
Like the 1800s?
New York Yankees were the first to ever put numbers on uniforms. When did it happen?
100 years ago.
1888.
Not bad. 95 years ago, if I'm doing the math right. 1929 is when they decided, you know what, let's put some numbers on the uniforms.
Okay, what did they do prior? Did they?
No numbers.
Just what? That guy's on first. Like, what do you? How are you supposed to describe anything?
It's the old Abbott and Costello
That
thing.
guy's on first.
Kids, look that one up. Who's on first? Third base! They did them in order of the batting. So obviously they didn't change their batting order very often if that's how they did their jersey numbers. But apparently that was the case. That was Babe Ruth back in those days. So kids, there's a little fun fact for you. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, I believe, all part of that, maybe? Do I have the era right? I think I do.
Cleveland was the first team to put numbered uniforms in the major leagues. 1916. I'm just fact-checking you.
Well, I appreciate that, but I don't like it, and I feel like I'm always right. So whatever you're reading is probably wrong, but I don't think it's going to change most of our lives. So we do have that going for us, which is nice. And it was many, many years later that this momentous baseball occasion happened.
Me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks.
They still have yet to put that on the uniforms, but I'm, fingers crossed. It's coming.
The Woody and Wilcox Show.
When you buy Kroger